Something funny's going on out there. Damn dogs gone crazy, and wolves howling, and birds flying.
Well, it's just the storm, John.
15 years ago, all the way back in the latter end of the noughties, the entire world was zombie mad. With titles such as Left 4 Dead, Plants vs Zombies, and even the Call of Duty franchise dipping their toes in, everyone was craving the undead. And in somewhat a shocking fashion, Rockstar Games, known primarily for their open-world Grand Theft Auto titles, plus the very recent for that time, Red Dead Redemption, decided to take their chances within this genre, releasing Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare. And what a popular decision this turns out to be. After completing the narrative of the primary tale, players were left wondering where to go next after the fall of the much-loved protagonist, John Marston, and luckily, Rockstar Games had you covered. But what made this 2010 hit so popular? Was it because open-world zombie titles hadn't really been done in this manner? Did it provide a fresh feel to the undead genre, or was it simply because it was more of Red Dead Redemption? Today, we'll be exploring this. Welcome to the video. You're listening to Phil of Philby Gaming. If you enjoy the following, you all know what to do. And if you're new to the channel and haven't subscribed already, after watching, please consider doing so. I just want to give a quick shout out to, well, basically all of you, as the channel has very recently surpassed 20,000 subscribers, a figure I never considered imaginable when I first launched Philby Gaming a few years back. So thank you to all those who have watched, supported, shared, and especially to those who have helped me along the way, whether this be simple advice from their own experiences on the platform, or coming in on videos together to support one another. This channel is truly built by the community. With that being said, and please be aware of the major spoilers ahead, let's begin with what we came here to see. What made Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare so popular? So before we draw to our conclusion, let's take a little look at the title itself and exactly what it's all about. Undead Nightmare sets itself in the latter stages of the main title, as John Marston, our protagonist, returns home after reuniting with his family, following a lengthy and well-told narrative that gripped the heart of most. After listening to his son Jack tell a fable from a novel, the family peacefully go to sleep. John is soon awoken by a stumbling uncle who appears at first to be heavily intoxicated, as is the norm for the character. It quickly becomes apparent that Uncle is zombified. Uncle soon turns on the rest of the family, who then turn on each other, progressing them all to becoming the undead, with the exception of John, of course. This is the premise of the title, to head out in search of a cure. John Marston, once again, just like the narrative of Red Dead Redemption, must explore the world in hopes of saving his family. As he travels, we meet an array of new faces as well as old, linking in with some familiar friends in search of answers. Through our time, we're introduced to a familiar world, albeit turned upside down in this apocalyptic setting. It's basically an alternate reality. But it's more than just a simple overhaul. We have new weapons, enemies, and gameplay features, but to name a few, and although the game isn't perfect, it almost is. So what exactly, aside from the hordes of the undead, is different? Well, let's start with the map. Gone is the Wild West themed overlay. It's now replaced with a horror setting, as the rivers run red, surrounded by an uninviting orange and yellow feel, with an eerie ambient setting accompanied by a creepy soundtrack. We have new gameplay features, some of which have overridden the originals to fit this new setting, such as missing person posters instead of bounties, plus graveyard side quests in which we burn away coffins in our attempt to tackle the undead.
In a time of enormous crisis, I might have known the government have you boys doing the work of a common clerk.
Well, thank you for your input, citizen. I'm glad you find life so funny.
My pleasure.
Do you think this poor girl's family finds life quite so funny right now?
Family? I assumed she was a common killer.
She's a missing person. Missing presumed dead, I guess. But you keep cracking them jokes.
We have new enemy types, of course, surrounding us with a vast array of nightmarish ghouls, such as the recently turned to the more powerful bolters, bruisers, and wretches. We're also introduced to undead versions of the local wildlife, the four horses of the apocalypse, each with their own unique strengths, as well as the Sasquatch, an obvious parody and reference to the popular myth that surrounded those who played GTA San Andreas back in the early 2000s.
You eat babies. You have to survive. Everyone knows that. Ain't your fault.
We eat berries. And mushrooms, you fool! But we did. Now none of us are left. Some maniac's been murdering us.
We have new weapons to boot, such as the blunderbuss or baited dynamite. All of this, plus much more, adds to a unique feel as we step away from the original title, giving us a fresh taste of this world. But it's much more than a simple cosmetic overhaul that makes Undead Nightmare a classic, so let's delve deeper into our time in the world. John Marston will always be John Marston. He's comical when he needs to be, giving a light-hearted feel to these darker times, often cracking jokes even when he doesn't realise, but can still be serious when he needs to be, such as battling his way through the hordes to save those stranded. This is actually a big part of the DLC, saving the towns. As John first enters settlements familiar to those who enjoyed the original base title, more often than not they are overrun by the undead and are in need of saving. John can do this in a manner of ways, such as blasting his way through as a one-man army, something of which I wouldn't quite recommend, or speaking with the stranded townsfolk to see exactly how he can help. This is often handing over some of your spare ammunition to them, which in this undead setting acts as the title's in-game currency. This lack of currency does well to provide a challenge to Undead Nightmare. You're often down to your last few bullets, especially in the earlier stages of the title. Going back to the side content, such as the missing person posters, these replace the wanted posters found in the base game, and although the premise is the same, kill the surrounding enemies before bringing in the intended target, or victim in this case, they're still fun to partake in. We also have ridiculous but entertaining stranger missions. This can range, very similar to the original title, from helping those stranded in the wild, or can be given to us by familiar faces, such as the film creator Michaela, in which he wants John to track down a specific type of infected for a movie, or Marshall Lee Johnson, who wants John's help in tracking down the two bumbling buffoons he calls his deputies.
Hello, boys. Marshall sent me and needs some help. Guess you've got other plans. Seriously, enjoy your meal, no problem. Easy now, gentlemen. Remember all the fun times we had?
Looking at the reviews of the title, it's easy to see why fans fell in love with Undead Nightmare, with most considering it to be one of the highest rated DLCs of all time. But it's more than just a DLC to Red Dead Redemption. It's a standalone title with an entirely new narrative that takes the favourite aspects of the base game, such as the much-loved characters, and throws them into an entirely new world. We get to revisit the entire in-game map in this open-world spin-off, allowing us to witness how familiar sites and settlements are faring during this undead apocalypse, including the country of Mexico, showing us that this infection is seemingly worldwide. Undead Nightmare provides a fresh feel following the harrowing death of protagonist John Marston. It allows us to relive a brand new tale in his boots, something that has proved very popular with fans, as John is considered one of the most popular, dare I say greatest, protagonists of any gaming genre.
You got any idea of how we can survive?
You could try shooting them creatures, you dumb fool.
Ma'am, it's been a real pleasure. Sir, you're a man of great patience.
The narrative itself, approximately 6 or so hours in length, is a bizarre one. It's over-exaggerated and doesn't necessarily make sense, but in reality it doesn't need to. It's a hellish nightmare drummed up in the mind of John Marston, as he falls asleep with the ghoulish fairy tale read by his son Jack still fresh in his mind. It's non-canon to the main narrative of Red Dead Redemption. There are a couple of setbacks, such as players being unsure of where to travel to next to continue the story, as well as mission progression halting due to a glitch of the in-game timeline. For example, during one of the latter missions where I was supposed to wait for one in-game day to pass whilst working with Mother Calderon, this took several in-game days instead. We also have the exchange of using safe settlements as fast travel points now, as opposed to making camp in the wilderness, although I suppose that one seems a bit more logical. Is the game perfect? No, but it's not far off even by today's standards, considering it was released around a decade and a half ago. But hey, at least we get to continue as a zombified version of John Marston upon completion of the main narrative. so let me know in the comment section whether you've played this highly rated DLC, and if you have, what were your thoughts on the content. As always, if you enjoyed what you saw today, consider hitting like, subscribing if you haven't already, and share with those who you feel may enjoy this video. Thank you all for watching, you've been listening to Phil, and I'll see you in the next video.